Here is a question I want you to sit with. Are you leading for the business that you have now or the one that you are building? Really, when you zoom out and look at your decisions that you're making on a day-to-day basis, are they based on what your business looks like right now or where you want to be in 6 months, a year, 5 years? Because how you lead today, how you show up in your business today determines whether you stay in the same cycle, slow growth, you're seeing movement happening, right? Maybe you're stuck actually, or you finally start building that vision that you've had in your head since day one. This question might seem surface level at first, but if you really sit with it, it can get uncomfortable. But what it reveals is that it can either unlock your next level or it can keep you spinning in circles and just kind of stay where you're at, right? We all know that we don't grow from just doing more of the same. That's like the definition of insanity, right? Unless something works really well, because the ultimate goal would be, okay, you figure out the formula and you keep doing it and it works and it works and it works. But if it's not working, if you are not seeing that next level, big growth, that movement that you really know deep in your gut is possible for your business, but it's not happening fast enough, something is off. Right? We want to change that. So this chat, I think, might shift something in you, something big for you, if that resonates. I think we all know that there's something bigger for us out there, right? And I know that since you're here listening to this, that you're the kind of business owner that doesn't want a surface level chat. We don't do that here. So if you're serious about your growth and expansion, let's talk about how you can shift into that mindset now so you can grow this business to that next level that is meant for you. So let's get into the chat. So when I say lead for the business that you're building, what am I talking about? I'm talking about making decisions from the lens of your future self. Right? You in that future state, not your current stuck version. It's like that, what's that line? Like dress for the part that you want or the role that you want, right? It's really showing up as that future self. And I'm sure that you know what I mean because you probably felt the difference between the two because you might be kind of oscillating between the two. You might be making some strategic decisions that are future you, but in that day to day, you might quickly spiral down and be stuck in the weeds and just making kind of like safe decisions. That could be a way to describe that, right? There is this one version of you that's reacting, scrambling, doing what feels safe and easy and comfortable, even if you know it's not necessarily pushing you forward. And then there's the other version of you that's making those like boss move calls, right? You're taking risks. You're signing up for a trade show. You're opening up another brick and mortar location. You're making big partnership moves. That version of you is proactive, focused on your vision. You're not just in survival mode. And like I said, sometimes they both can coexist. And I don't think there's ever a world in which we are always one way or the other because things happen. But where it gets really powerful is when you start to recognize or you learn the fact that your subconscious mind cannot distinguish between where you are right now and where you want to go. I'll say that again. Your subconscious mind doesn't actually have any idea the difference between where you are now and where you want to go if you are not talking to yourself and telling yourself where you are going. All right. I'll let that sink in. I feel like that's something that has been so eye-opening for me as I've done a lot of subconscious work on myself, or not on myself, but with my own practitioner, my own coach, right? When you keep acting overwhelmed, for example, that overwhelmed version of you, let's say it's, I don't know, looking at your to-do list and feeling like, oh my God, I'm so busy. I have so much to do all the time. I'm never going to get any rest, right? That overwhelmed, panicky version of you. Or you're packing orders at midnight, even though you have a team that comes in or one person that comes in, you just feel like you can't necessarily give them more hours because you're afraid you can't afford it. Because what if you pay them to come in and then you don't get more orders coming in? So you might as well do it yourself at midnight after you've done your own whatever. Are you getting stressed just listening to this? Because I'm stressing myself out talking about this, right? That overwhelmed version of you says yes to all the things, says yes to maybe misaligned opportunities, says yes to a big wholesale order that doesn't feel right in their gut, like it's not the right aligned partner, or there's red flags in the contract. That overwhelmed version of you just does not make decisions from that future place in a way that feels good and aligned, right? And when you're constantly doing that, your brain believes that that is how you should operate. It feels safe. It feels like that's all you're capable of, right? Even if you consciously want more, like you want more, your subconscious might still be looping you in this protection mode. So, for example, what if I raise my prices and no one buys? That's a big one. I'm afraid to charge more, even though there's been so many cost increases in the last 5 years and yada, 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 all the reasons. I know competitively I need to be at a higher price point to align in the market. But what if I raise my prices and no one buys? What if I raise my MOQ and no one buys? Am I isolating those smaller retailers, even though I'm at this next level and I can be kind of separating myself, right? What if I simplify my product offering and people, either retailers or just someone shopping, like a D2C customer shopping your brand, your shop? What if I simplify, reduce my offering and people think I don't have enough choices? Are they going to think I just don't have ideas? What if I pitch my dream accounts and I get rejected? What if I put myself out there and do some major PR pitches and I don't hear back? Maybe I just won't do these things because I'll just stay where it's safe. Even if you consciously want more, your subconscious might still be protecting you and saying, okay, I know consciously that I want to take my revenue to this number. And in order to do so, I have to do this, this, and this. But all those little subconscious stories that we tell ourselves come in and creep in and tell our subconscious brain, oop, you know what? It's actually safer to stay here in the safe spot, right? Does that sound familiar? Raise your hand if that sounds familiar. It sounds familiar to me. I think that this is completely normal for pretty much every single person. I've never met someone that is like does not do this, right? That's just human nature. That subconscious programming isn't your fault, right? It's just keeping you safe. And that's what our brains do. And what's really cool is when you learn how to work with it, it's not to say, oh, I'm never going to have these feelings again. It's more of a, how am I going to navigate this when it comes up again? And I'm going to navigate it in a better way, right? Because we all want to grow, right? We want more profit. We want business to feel easier. We want business to feel really good. If you're in wholesale, you want those dream retailers. And maybe you don't want to be in a major retailer. That's totally fine. But like, what's the dream retailer for you, right? If you have a product-based business, whether you're a brand or a brick and mortar or e-commerce only, as an independent retailer, you want things to flow. You want your assortment to be profitable and optimized. You want to have people, if you desire to have a team, you want things to be flowing really well. You want to be an amazing leader. But in order for all those things to happen, you have to start with yourself first, right? You have to rewire the way that you think and how you show up as the leader in your own business, whether you're a business of 1 or a business of 100 or 1,000, doesn't really matter, right? You have to operate from a place where you're not standing in your own way. Because if you're not, then it's just kind of a disaster, right? Let me give you an example. So I was kind of reflecting on this before popping on the mic here to record this. And I was thinking about a client I have who we worked together for about 1.5 years. And she has an incredible brand and she was doing so much work to really evolve her aesthetic to really feel aligned with what she knows, like how she's evolved as an artist, right? And she really wanted that to come through in her overall branding and product line. And she was holding on to a lot of products that were doing okay. They were selling. They were just kind of like middle of the road / bottom of the road performance wise. They were bringing in revenue and they were bringing in some profit, but they really didn't reflect her, I'll just say like evolved aesthetic. They weren't like exactly what she wanted to have her business, her brand look like. They were just kind of there, taking up some space in her catalog, her wholesale catalog. They were still in her email sequences in some cases. She felt like she needed to market to them to like get more sales. They were just kind of selling here and there, right? So we dug into this. We looked at, first we started with, what are they doing for your business? Meaning, what are they delivering from a profit standpoint? How much inventory are you holding? Yada, yada, yada. So we saw, okay, this is how we knew they were middle to bottom of the road. They were still contributing to her business, but we wanted to just get an understanding of like what percent overall to know how big of a risk it is, right? And so then we started talking about it and she was like, well, I do have some inventory in it. And I said, well, these are not contributing enough percent to your total profitability that I think that it's a risk. If it was like 30% of your sales, 40% of your sales, I'd be like, we wouldn't be having that conversation, but it was not that much. And she said, well, what if somebody wants it? Like they're still selling, it's still profit, right? And so that's totally fair. It's still profit. It's still selling. But that right there is a decision that's being made from where she was, not necessarily where she wanted to go. Right? So we talked a lot about, well, isn't there something else that could replace that? Or the other products that you already have, don't you think that could easily replace that revenue because you have another version of it that's actually so much better, right? And also, the customer that wants this product isn't your ideal customer. So the more you hone in and curate your offering and your aesthetic, the more you're going to attract retailers and D2C customers that are perfect for you, right? So that's why we had this conversation. That decision of let me hang on to this because it is delivering a little bit of profit was one that was afraid to, that decision, I should say, is a protection mode. I want to keep this profitability. I'm afraid to lose this versus the bigger picture of, oh, I could make so much more profit if I got rid of this and honed in my assortment and had it all look so aligned and aesthetically pleasing. Not that it wasn't aesthetically pleasing, it just looked a little bit different, right? The future version of you, the one that is landing those higher level accounts, right? Or that is growing your business to a level you can't even wrap your head around right now. That version of you is curating the assortment, confidently editing, making space for a product line or collection that actually moves the needle and fits into that future version of your business, right? Once you let go of that, but I might still sell a few more mindset, you free up space physically, right? You're freeing up the physical inventory. Or maybe if you are printing on demand, you're not necessarily holding on to the inventory, but you're still selling it. So it looks on your website like a lot of stuff, right? Even if it's not necessarily ideal for you. So you free up that physical space or digital space, right? And also mentally, you free up the mental load of having to manage that inventory, having to think about that, right? And you lead your business into the next level. And what that really means is making decisions from the place where you want to go, not just reacting to what's happening today. The chaos of, shit hitting the fan, that's going to happen. But how quickly are you moving through that, right? You want to take action like the business that's already hit that next level. Here's what it looks like when you're stuck in leading for the business that you have mindset, okay? So you're saying yes to every order, meaning it could be a wholesale order. It could be an order process that's not very efficient. I had that in my business where I was really afraid to make some big decisions on cutting back on offering build a box gift boxes on my website because I was afraid of losing sales. So you're saying yes to every order because you're afraid of losing sales. That was totally me. It took me, I waited probably almost a year too long to make that decision, but because people were still buying it. They were still purchasing in a way that was very highly customized and they loved doing that, but it was very inefficient on the back end. And once I got rid of that, my profit totally skyrocketed. Another example is like you're doing all the tasks yourself because hiring somebody feels either like it's too soon, like you don't have consistent sales coming in, so you're afraid to bring somebody in to support you on that. But what if you brought someone to take over the fulfillment so you could focus on marketing and pitching? Oh, then suddenly you have time, right? You have time to do those things that bring in revenue, bring in sales, and that person is busy. And I guarantee you there's other things that they could be doing for you instead of fulfillment if there's a day that's not as busy, right? You're adding product after product without retiring old ones, like the client that I was talking about. Sometimes it's not so much adding product. Well, actually, let me rephrase this. Sometimes it's more about feeling like you need more product because more equals more sales, more product equals more sales. And like, yes, that is true in some cases, but also in the case of that client that I was referencing, she wasn't letting go of old products, but she was bringing in more and her sales were growing, but she was kind of dragging the business down with those bottom feeders. Okay. So in this instance, it's like, okay, maybe you're afraid to mark down or stop producing old products that are just kind of trickling in those sales because you're afraid of losing that revenue and you're adding more products on top. So it's like, if you're listening to this and you're like, I know all of this isn't true, but I tell myself this, I'm imagining you're shaking your head because a lot of these things, I'm like, I can think of so many instances myself when I had my gift box business where I was doing these things, right? I waited to hire for too long. Definitely waited to hire too long. That is for sure a biggest mistake I made, I would say. I wouldn't say I necessarily had the adding too much product issue too much because of my buyer background, but I definitely was afraid of losing a sale. And I bent over backwards in too many instances with my corporate gifting, client gifting projects to be able to land a sale. And I knew there were red flags and I still did it anyway. And that's my version of wholesale. As a side note, is that corporate gifting. Those major orders, those 6-figure orders in some instances were huge for me. And I eventually got to the point of being like, this is what I'm going after. I'm not going after bending over backwards for build a box, one customer coming in to build a box. I need to make those changes so that my team can be optimized so we are able to absolutely crush it on a 6-figure order, right? That's how you make those shifts. And once you start to realize that, it becomes a lot easier. It's a mindset shift and it's subtle in some instances. And it's something that takes fine tuning and continuously working on. But when you're aware of it, when you start working on what is causing me to be blocked from going all in on how I'm showing up, what is causing me to feel this way, working through that, and not just like consciously working through it, working on your subconscious, right? That changes absolutely everything. Because I know it's like you're probably feeling like you're maxed out or you've hit a capacity. And in order to do all these things I want to do, I need to have more sales. That's a lot of the things that I hear, right? And that's actually not always true. Yeah, you need to have revenue to be able to invest in your business. But sometimes that thought process right there is one that is getting in the way for you. So just to kind of put a bow on it, because I don't think I really did, that client that I was sharing about, when she made the decision to move through her old inventory, we came up with a strategy to exit her out of it. It was a multi-layered strategy over the course of probably 6 months is how long it took to realistically get through everything. She felt so much lighter. She just felt like, oh my God, I'm getting rid of this. I have a plan. Half the time it's like you don't really know how to do it, so you're afraid to do it, right? She realized she actually didn't have any personal attachment to the product. And the best part, this is what always happens when you get rid of those middle/bottom feeders in your line, you see your bottom line profit increase as a result of not carrying that inventory. This has happened throughout my entire career in corporate retail and with the clients I've worked with. It is proven, done it time and time and time again, right? There is a fear though of holding on to it, but she felt so much lighter and then she started seeing the results and it was a win-win all around. So let's talk about what it looks like to lead for the business that you're building, that future, right? And it's probably a little bit more simple than you think, or maybe it's not, I don't know. But here's what future you does, right? You're not winging it anymore. You are not afraid to approach your numbers. You know your sales targets, your revenue goals, your profit goals. You are focused on profit, right? You know your calendar, you know the pitch windows. You have a plan that is flexible. You curate confidently. You understand how to curate, when to cut products and when to bring in new products. You invest in support, and that can look like a lot of different things. That could be a couple hours a week for fulfillment. That could be, I need a fulfillment center, right? That could be a lot of things. It could be marketing support. It could be a coach or a mentor. You know your zone of genius and that your growth really relies on you and your skill set, and you hire outside of that. Does not mean spend all your money hiring and you're left with nothing. No, you need to do it in a profitable way, but don't wait too long like I did, right? You pitch, you sell, you're showing up. You're not waiting until you feel ready. You're just doing it and maybe doing it messy. And then it falls into place and you can refine it and fine tune it. You're not saying yes to things that don't feel right. I think maybe the most important thing is you're not really stuck in that kind of survival mode. You're willing to face the things that might be in your way, those subconscious blocks. You're willing to face it so that you can get out of those spirals and that cycle. That's how you build your business with vision. And you have those long-term businesses have someone behind them that sees the vision and is willing to evolve. That's the biggest thing. We cannot stay stuck, right? So I want you to just think about, when was the last time you made a decision as if you were already at that next level? And I don't just mean writing goals on paper in January, right? Like that, of course, we are all at our highest level in January. We know that the world is our oyster. We have a fresh year ahead of us. We're going to absolutely crush it. But now we're like approaching mid-year here. Okay. So when was the last recent time that you really made decisions in your business on the day-to-day where you were already at your next level and did it without fear? Are you pricing your product? Are you planning your business? Are you marketing? Are you showing up as the brand, as the retailer that you want to be 6 months, 12 months, or longer from now? Or are you still making some scared or small decisions from your current reality? Like more frequently than the other, right? Your subconscious mind, man, it follows your lead. When you decide to act from a place of, I'm going to say belief, I don't know if that's the right word, but when you act from a place of your future you, right? Instead of fear, everything else starts to shift. I have witnessed this firsthand in my own life. I did this deep internal work for a year, and it is so mind-blowing. And that's exactly what I'm really excited about inside of Rewired Retail. It's the kind of deep identity level work that we're going to do first and then layer in the strategy. So we're going to be together for 6 months in a high touch capacity. It's not just a mastermind. It's called a mastermind, the Rewired Retail Collective. It's not just a mastermind because we're not just talking about your business strategy. We are recalibrating how you show up, not only in your business. We're rewiring some of those subconscious thoughts that are preventing you from moving forward. We're really focusing on you. And it's going to probably shock the hell out of you because you might come into this thinking, oh, it's just going to make me so much stronger in my business, but it's actually going to ripple into your life in so many other ways. So this is all about stepping into that version of you that already has that successful business, that is already so confident, already has the strategy to grow without burnout. And if this is resonating with you, I want you inside. We kick off on June 1st. I'm so excited, back from maternity leave, and it's going to just be a really awesome 6 months. You'd be in that founder cohort, and I'm building it to support high-level founders. Whether you are a brand owner or an independent retailer, it doesn't matter. We're talking product strategies that apply no matter what type of business that you have. And we're focusing on you first as the founder, right? That scaling strategically with mindset, marketing, and margin all as the focus. But we have to start with you first, and we have to dig into those blocks first. So that's what we're doing every month for 6 months. It's going to be freaking awesome. So if you're interested in that, there's a link in the show notes. You can check it out. If you want to have a chat, DM me at Kristen Fisher Coaching. You can DM me the word rewired and it will send you the link. You can also just send me a voice note, or you can email me, hello@KristenFisherCoaching.com, because I want to make sure that it's the right fit for you. But we are starting very soon. So to wrap this up, if you haven't caught on by now, you don't get to your next level by being more of who you are today. Not saying we want to change you entirely, right? But we want to get you to that next level of you that's more regulated, more in touch, and has worked through some deep layers that are perhaps influencing how you're showing up now. This isn't about strategizing your way out of things. Suddenly like waking up and being like, yep, okay, I'm rid of all my issues. No, that's not what we're trying to do here. We're trying to shift, rewire some things to help you get to that next version of you who's already living that next level of success. So I want you to think, as we wrap this up, maybe pick a decision, right? So let me think of some examples here. I'm going to pick some random numbers, but make them work for you. What would the $500,000 annual revenue version of me do here? Now, it's not all about revenue. Let me say that. It's not all about revenue. But I want you to think about, maybe it's doubling your revenue or whatever your big next goal is. You can replace these random numbers I'm making up with that for yourself. So what would the $500,000 annual revenue, right, version of me do here in this situation? What would the 7-figure version of me say no to, not accept, right? How would that next level version of me protect my time or my margin or my vision? What would that next level of me stop accepting as okay? Maybe it's someone on the team taking advantage of you. We're not doing that anymore, right? That's how you start to rewire your reality and start showing up and leading for the business that you're building. So I hope that this landed with you. I really hope it did. I love having these conversations because I just think that I know rather, that we all have these similar thoughts and we kind of sit in them and we don't necessarily move through them as fast as we can. We're capable of moving through things really quickly. Like I said earlier, it's not like we're trying to completely rid ourselves or think that we're never going to have these issues again once we work on a subconscious mindset block. Like, it's still going to be there. But the cool thing and the difference is we don't sit there and wallow in it or ruminate on it. We make better decisions way faster. And then you look back and you're like, whoa, a year ago, 6 months ago, the old me would have done this so differently. And that's when it's really cool and it gets to be really, really fun. So I hope that this landed for you. I'd love to hear if this sparked any ideas. You know, I love voice notes or messages on Instagram. Come let me know kind of what you're working through. I'd love to hear. And if you are ready for a high-level mastermind that is not just more business strategy being thrown at you, more modules for you to learn, but to actually focus on you, to actually shift your subconscious blocks, your subconscious mindset, truly changing you and your business from the inside out, check the link in the show notes or DM me Rewired and let's talk, because you're closer to that than you think. All right, I'll see you inside the next chat.
Hey friend, quick question for you. Are you feeling stuck with how to get your brand to stand out on Faire? I'm asking you because as a buyer myself, I can tell you that there are just so many brands out there vying for the attention of these buyers, but I know that your brand has something so special and it needs to be seen. I put together a private podcast for you that goes deeper into what buyers are really looking for on the Faire platform and how you can stand out from the crowd to grow your wholesale business and really land those dream buyers. So if this resonates with you, head to the link in the show notes for instant access. Thanks so much for spending some time with me today. If you are loving the show, I would be so beyond grateful if you would rate and review the podcast and share it with one of your biz besties to help spread the word. I hope that you absolutely crush your sales this week. I'll be back to chat with you next Monday.